From athletic stuff like a full court pickup game, swish, to athlete-ish stuff like a half-mile stroll. Get those steps in. Head to Sierra or Sierra.com for the brands you want at the prices that let you do it all. From athletic to athlete-ish, Sierra's got it.
Broadcasting intimate details and useless information from an undisclosed location in New York City. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Are you terrified of snakes but kind of don't want to be? Well, there's a real good trick that I can tell you, but you'll need a time machine. If your parents acted towards you in a certain way as it came to snakes, you might have not been so scared of them. This is all according to a new research study. We're here with someone who worked on it. She's a psychology instructor and snake lover, I believe, at the University of Regina. Her name is Danae Butchko. Danae, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
So snakes in children, the very thought, I think, to most people would cause them a great horror. Why are so many people scared of snakes to begin with?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? That's the question that I had. That's the question that kind of spawned my interest in this kind of research. So, as you mentioned, I'm not afraid of snakes. I've never been afraid of snakes. I've always really loved snakes and all reptiles. So, that is what I was wondering as I embarked on this journey of my degree and getting an education, getting my master's degree in psychology. I wanted to know why such a large proportion of people in our culture, which is mostly a North American Western thing, had such a disdain towards these creatures. And that's what we kind of see in our study, or that's what we kind of look at.
I think the naive thought about this, and I'm sure it may not be the full picture or even true at all, is that early cave-dwelling humans had to deal with snakes and maybe also spiders in caves, and so a little innate, evolved fear would be a good thing. But that doesn't account for the fact that so many people are not scared of these things. How do we end up with this fear? How do we end up not having this fear?
Yeah, okay. So what you're saying is absolutely correct. Sorry. There is a not small pool of people who would argue that something like this widespread aversion towards snakes or fear towards snakes and spiders could be due to something like an innate mechanism to protect ourselves that evolved over time. Evolutionarily, this theory possible, but there's not a lot of great evidence for it. So when we look at the research on babies and really young children, including the study that I ran, none of these children and none of the very young babies that we have run studies on are afraid of snakes. We don't see indications that they're afraid of them. So this is something that looks like probably develops as children interact with our culture, with other people. And what we see, or what I have found, is that it has a large amount to do with the way that we talk about these animals and the way that we represent them in the greater culture as well.
So how are we talking about these animal snakes that cause kids to become so scared of them before we talk about how we can intervene and make them not scared of them?
Okay, so one major thing for sure is the way that we talk about snakes often tends to be a lot more objectifying than the way we talk about other animals. So when we talk about snakes, often what we see in parents when they're talking to their kids, or just individuals when they're looking at pictures or viewing them, they'll refer to them not using any pronouns, so as it, rather than if you see a squirrel or a bunny rabbit running down the street, people are more likely to say that, oh, he's so cute or she's so cute, rather than it. So this objectifying language can contribute to us thinking about these animals as being different than other animals. So just conceptually, if this is the way we always refer to them and we don't do that for other animals, they're different, and different sometimes means scary. The other thing is using negative language towards these animals.
Slimy, slithering fangs, things like this.
Exactly. Yeah. So one of the things that we saw in the study that we did is that parents did, at least 50%, around 50% of parents tended to say at least one negative thing about snakes when they were looking at that picture book. So, and these negative statements about snakes do influence how children think about them, which is another finding. So, speaking about them negatively, oh, that one might bite you, even though you're looking at a picture. Speaking about them in objectifying ways that also deny them any kind of just even basic mental states like, she's hungry or she's afraid.
So let's talk about what you did with kids to get them to be not scared of them. You sort of anthropomorphized snakes, or you wrote children's books that, gave them a personhood and gave them positive narratives, things like this?
So yes, anthropomorphism in a very mild sense, because we're dealing with a still very biologically accurate book. So the book doesn't attribute any uniquely exclusively human properties for snakes, but it does make the message, according to lots of research, a little bit easier to digest and kind of integrate. So rather than saying the snake woke up, the snake drank water, the snake hid under a rock, we would say she woke up, she was thirsty, she found some water, she was afraid, so she hid under. So nothing super anthropomorphic, just a different way of talking about them, the way we usually talk about other animals.
And when you did that, what did you find children ended up feeling about snakes?
So when we use language like this, if we avoid negative language, if we use non-objectifying language, we find that children are much more likely to think about snakes as being similar to other animals, where if we don't have these kinds of interventions, they tend to think about snakes as being very different from other animals.
But with tarantulas, that's all not true. Like 9 out of 10 people in Australia die every day from tarantulas. They are deadly. They can kill you at any minute.
Tarantulas are actually not all that venomous. There are lots of venomous spiders, for sure, but tarantulas aren't all that scary.
I know. They're gentle, which is so bizarre because in my greatest fear, they are not gentle at all. I wish my parents had done that. I wish my parents had introduced me to spiders in this way so I wouldn't be so scared of them.
Yeah.
I guess to like the wider point, parents have a lot of control over what their kids end up fearing in life, don't they?
Well, yeah. And I mean, I think that there are a lot of unanswered questions that we have still. This is just one very small part of what may be responsible for the broader phenomenon. I can't say for 100%, with 100% certainty that this is the only thing that contributes, right? But from what we see, these things that we do, the way that we talk about them and represent them, it definitely has an impact on how children think about them. And with that fear being completely absent in childhood, something has to happen that we're exposed to as we grow up that results in us thinking about them this way.
Now, how young do we intervene to try to get kids to not fear certain animals that are really no different than any other?
Yeah. So I would treat them like any other animal and give them some education, just basic education on the animal and what they might do on a daily basis, just including them in your repertoire of stories, even from just beginning to starting reading them books and stuff like that would be super helpful.
Is there a wider point here about how like cultural or familiar influences can affect a children's feelings on a variety of topics?
I mean, I would say so. I think that there are broader implications for this for sure, just looking at the way that we represent things in culture and talk about things. So, of course, that research would need to be done. We haven't done that research, but I think that would be a good pointing place for sure.
Danae, I've enjoyed this chat. Thanks for coming on and sharing your research with me. I do concede spiders are wonderful creatures. They just terrify me, and I wish they didn't.
That's fair. We can work on that.
Danae Butchko is a psychology instructor at the University of Regina.
Monster Energy Everybody knows White Monster Zero Ultra. That's the OG. It kicked off this whole zero sugar energy drink thing. But Ultra is a whole lineup now. You've got Strawberry Dreams, Blue Hawaiian, Sunrise, and Vice Guava. And they all bring the Monster Energy punch. So if you've been living in the white can, branch out. Ultra's got a flavor for every vibe. And every single one is zero sugar. Tap the banner to learn more.